Hello, everybody. This is Julia. I am Hummingbird Jewel, and this is show 18, SOUL-utions, a book review show for mind readers. And today we have special guest, Aliza Bloom Robinson, and her book, which is brand new, just released, Shero's Journey, a spiritual adventure. But before we get started, every show we feature a cause, and that's because my mission statement is to teach love by being an example of love. And what better way than to showcase authors that have spiritual messages and find out what's behind the cover. And as well as I love emphasizing the spiritual principle of service. So today, Aliza chose 1 million meditators. Yay! Aliza and I both met through 1 million meditators. We're both ambassadors for the last 2 years. Every 2 to 3 months, we have global meditations. This is all volunteers, and we lead 15-minute podcasts. Our global intent, I love myself and the planet. It's non-denominational, and we're rolling up to 1 million at the end of this year, so we need your help. We need social ambassadors. If you don't want to get out in front of the camera, you just want to be behind the scenes, help us out by spreading the message. Now, every cause, I put the links to the cause and to my author in the notes on the YouTube. I'll convert this live to YouTube right away so you don't ever miss a show. My channel is Hummingbird Jewel. Please subscribe. Okay, so the next meditation, oh, I can't forget this, is March 27th, 28th, and 29th. So please join the movement and help us become 1 million. Okay, it's time to meet my author. Reverend Aliza Bloom Robinson walks her walk, but she didn't always do it gracefully. At present, if you look at her life, it's an incredible adventure of joy, even affluence. She has a wonderful marriage and partners with her husband, and they host incredible events worldwide, as well as she's a best-selling author of more than one book. She's a speaker and a lifter of humanity. But her life has not always been one of ease and affluence. Now, she truly is accomplished. She got her BA from the Colorado State University in Business Administration in 1983 in computer science. And then in 1998, I would think, 99, she went to the School of Religious Studies for 2 years and became an ordained minister. That was Unity Religious Studies. And then she was a minister of Unity Church for 19 years. But let's back up to when she was younger. Like, her life has been one of true life struggles, not only financially, raising her children alone, but in every area of her life, including relationships that would fall apart and complete and total restructuring. And sometimes it would be a bare bones, like on a soulful level where she's hitting her knees and then rising up again like a phoenix. But this didn't happen to her just once, but several times in her life. But from this life experience, including arguing with her inner divine guidance, Aliza has truly awakened to her mission to touch hearts, free souls, and transform lives. She stepped into her role as a vibrational catalyst, inspiring you to step into your life path with ease. And she'll help you attain a life that you truly love. Now she's the founder of the Center for Divine Awakening, and her website, divine-awakening.org, is just such a joy to navigate. It's really easy, and then you can see all the different offerings that she so graciously gifts the world with. So today we get to peek behind this woman's life experience and her new book. Welcome to the show, Aliza.
Thank you, Julia. It's always interesting. You know, I said to you earlier, I said, wow, you've really done your research. You're bringing up stuff. It's like, wow, yeah, that's great.
I asked my authors for bios, and they're always giving this like little paragraph, and I'm like, there's more behind the cover. Now, before we get into your life a little, I want to start with your life stories so that people can get to connect to you. Tell us about Burst. Quantum Burst, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a brand new offering that that kicks off tomorrow with a bonus call, which will be January 15th. So it's brand new, and it is designed to. Let me back up. My work is like bursting into the quantum. Like I keep like touching this place that is so exciting, and the Quantum Burst Club is really. It's going to be a relatively small group of people, but we are going to be touching the quantum again and again and again. But it's also got community aspect to it. So if we come in with an intention, which we'll set intentions, however we do that in this particular moment, but to lift it and to lift it for the greater good, like there is a greater purpose that we are called to. Like we've all done, self-improvement and all of that for decades, or at least the people around in my world have. But now it's like, what's the greater purpose? What's the global? What's the universal? What's the big purpose?
Yeah.
So the First Club is a 4-month container really to land there, to navigate there, to be lifted there, to be seen and witnessed there, and then to bring forth a whole new humanity basically on the planet.
Yeah, I can see why now after studying you a little bit, why you're so attracted to 1 Million Meditators, because you're really about lifting it's like something about creation. I just keep getting, she's into the humanity aspect of the world, and even if she does it one person at a time, it's kind of like what is your mission statement?
Well, it really is touching hearts, freeing souls, transforming lives.
Okay.
Dedicated to the awakening of the planet, one soul at a time.
Yeah, I kind of covered that then. Yeah. So let's go back to your early 20s. Like, tell us a little bit about your life and how it was. It hasn't been always this magnificent, that's for sure.
So, there's so much to say, but I'm going to touch on just a couple of things. I came into New Thought, Unity, Creative Visualization, Religious Science Center for Spiritual Living, very, very young. And in fact, I did the EST program when I was 18 for those followed Werner Erhard around. I was one of the younger ones in our program, did that for a couple of years. So I had early training in the practices and the principles that we teach. And I had followed this guy, met this guy. I was a single mom. Of course, I spent most of my life as a single mom. And I found myself in a relationship I should say that I live in Arizona on purpose, and I have for many, many years.
Okay.
Allergic to anything below 70 degrees. And
New Hampshire, is that where you went?
Vermont.
Vermont. Ooh, that's cold.
In January. And then everything looked wonderful, and then everything fell apart. Like, I'm talking fast, like a period of 8 weeks. The relationship ended. Everything fell apart, and I found myself on my knees. And in that moment, I surrendered, I guess. I didn't know. There was no thought to it. I was just, Elizabeth, I always think of Elizabeth Gilbert, although her story came out many years after mine, after I experienced it. But I hit my knees in such a way that I just lifted up myself to God. And I said, I don't know how to do my life. I keep screwing it up big time, and everything fell apart. And I give up. And what I heard was, if you will follow, I will lead. And out of that moment came what I now call my covenant. Now, I didn't sit down to go, I'm going to go write a covenant. It came out of that moment. And very quickly, my life began to change. Very quickly, I left that relationship. I left Vermont. I never did find out if I had a sidewalk in front of my house. It was that quick. There was still snow. And I was led then within a couple of years through a series of steps that led me into ministry. And following that has been really my life since 1994. Really, now that hasn't always been, like you mentioned in the bio, I haven't always not argued. when I hear something, it's like I haven't always not argued.
It's the same thing. It's so funny when you said that. I was just like, oh my gosh, at least I'm not the only one. But you kind of learn after a while, like, okay, I'm not even going to argue because I'm not going to win. I say you can't argue with God, although I don't feel like it's God. I call them my angels, but still, it's like they'll pound on you. They'll just like,
Right.
But what happened in 2010? You went to Gracie's house. You didn't know why you were going to Gracie's house, and you had a profound experience, but I'm not sure what that was. I don't know if you want to tell us. I believe it was a meditation, right? Or
so here's the story. I was having another moment in my life where everything was really good, and in a matter of 2 or 3 months, it was like okay, and then it was like, wait a minute, there's something. I call it divine discontent.
I love that.
Listen to that, the whisper, or the knock, or the pound, or you can crash. I mean, there's different. You have to pay attention. And if you listen to the whisper, it's much easier than if you crash. But
yeah.
I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and I was having this, like, oh my God, spirit, what is going on, right? And I heard, go to Gracie's tonight. I call my friend Gracie. She's not my friend. She's my acquaintance. We're in a group together. And I'm like, is there something at your house? She goes, yeah, 7 o'clock. Here's the address. Well, I forgot to ask what it was. I mean, it didn't occur to me to ask. I mean, it could have been Tupperware, right?
Right. You're just like, happening, I'm supposed to go. Okay.
And I walked in, and there were some people I knew, and I sat down, and this guy walks in. I'm like, huh. Something about that man was like something. There was like, pay attention. And he said, everybody sit down. Does anybody have any questions? Well, I still don't know why I'm here. Nope, no questions. He's like, close your eyes. And I don't know what he said, but what I experienced was such a profound, like, of spirit into my heart that my heart literally turned inside out.
Wow.
Into itself, out of itself, something like this whole, like completely inside out. And I kind of was thrown backwards in this experience. And there's so much I could say about that, but to keep it really short, because I know you have a whole list of questions.
I know, I told you we'd never get through them, but I want to hear this.
Right? I was stunned. I was mindless. I was wordless. In fact, I had to preach, the next day, and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I got nothing, no words. But what I discovered was that I'd already been a minister for 10 years. I'd already spent 10 years really preaching awakening, really teaching and facilitating, getting into your heart and living from your heart space. But what I discovered in that is every word that I had said was right on, but I had no idea that I hadn't had the experience yet. So it took me from knowing it here to like
feeling it,
being it.
Being it. Wow.
And then that sent me on a journey that really was about 2 years long of deep surrender. I heard the words, are you willing to serve creation? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, duh.
And then like, what's that look like? That's what I always say, like, what's that look like?
I'm not that smart. I just go, yeah. And then followed up immediately was, then you will ask to be surrender. You will be asked to surrender everything.
And that's when you left Unity, right?
Yeah. So over the course of time, all very guided, because I was in this completely surrendered place. I left my job. I left my movement. I left my relationship. I left my son in Austin. I left my apartment. I loaded up my car, and I made a deal with God. I said, okay, I can do 3 months. Right. It turned into about 15 months literally in my car. Now, I never actually slept in my car, but in my car.
Right. You're just traveling.
And doing that surrender process and working with the man that became my teacher, and not the man I met that night, but he led me to my teacher, and doing this deep soul work that I now call my spiritual initiation work. Not the first, probably not the last, but that began to change everything for me, because it was so deep and so profound in that surrendering that before the end of that, I was thoughtless, mindless. Like I had no desire, I had no emotion, I had no thought, I had no intention. I was like so empty that I was full, and so full that I was completely empty with spirit. So it took a while then to kind of start coming back into life. So
beautiful story, beautiful story. Let's get on to talking about your book. Are you ready?
Yeah, you bet.
Well, I'm not sure about Shero. I mean, is Shero a little bit about your life experiences? I kind of saw that in there. I couldn't help it, but you explained it a little bit. And it's a trilogy, though, y'all. It's just the first book. So there's 2 parts. She does it in 2 ways, and I'll let you can probably speak to it better than I can.
So Shira, I was at a writing retreat a year and a half ago, and Shiro appeared to me. Like she kind of just downloaded and she said, tell my story. And certainly when you read the book, a lot of her experiences are experiences that I have had.
Right.
Not biographical in any means, because Shiro is her own self.
Right.
There is so much in me, and I think that's what makes it so relatable. People, even you, Julia, said I could see myself, I could feel myself in her story. And so she is, born, really, she's seeded from a different dimension to help save the planet, which to me is really awakened to the next dimension of our experience. And her timing is, really impeccable as we're standing here now. But what she doesn't know is that she really was seeded from a different dimension. So she's on a hero's journey, classic Joseph Campbell. So she faces dragons and lions and all kinds of experiences. But her real journey is facing the dragons and lions of humanity, which is betrayal, shame, rage, terror. And it is in that facing them, overcoming them, embodying them, embracing them, moving through them, all of those words apply, that she fully realizes her humanity, which of course is our divinity, right? We can't find our divinity except for through our humanity. And then, right at the end of the book, it's totally seeded to the next book. So I totally have to write the next book. And I have part of it downloaded already, but it'll be a little while.
One thing I really recognized was the aspect, the spiritual law of polarity. So when she's back with her starseed family, they experienced only love, and then but she's come to Earth to experience both sides, like the shame, the guilt, the pain, being jealous, all this human stuff that we go through. And I think that's an important point that some people miss out on, and we can make a gratitude list for what we call bad things in our life. We can be grateful for them because of what they show us, right?
Right. And what we learn about ourselves, but I also think in the healing of that, which has been my work for 10 years now, really, is the dismantling of those lifelong patterns and beliefs and the unworthiness and the shame and all that stuff that we pack around. The healing, not the perfect word anymore, but the healing of that, we're doing not only for ourselves, but we're doing for humanity. We're doing, every time we do work like that, we're healing this generation ourselves, but also 7 generations backwards, 7 generations forwards. And the bigger picture is all of humanity, because we all carry that. It's a part of our separation of, we've been in millennial, but to go to the next awakening, the next dimension of consciousness, the next new species even, we can't take that stuff with us. And we can't just cut it off either. We have to do the process around it. We have to feel it. We don't have to feel every bit of it, but we have to be willing to feel it rather than resistant and trying to make it go away.
Right. And then I also related to her early not fitting in childhood, that feeling when you're, having experiences, like myself, I was taken to another world, and here I am 7 or 8 years old. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I have nobody to talk to. You feel really alienated and like you're a weirdo. You know, it's hard for people that are here to evolve and help. Can you speak to being lonely? Were you that way when you were younger, or?
Yeah, I was. I felt like I never really fit into my family, and even my friends. I didn't really fit into my friends, and the truth is, you know, there's still moments of like that. You know, you know, the people around me, the people that are close to me. I'm like, you know, they just roll their eyes. My son, I just speak with him because he'd had some surgery. He just goes, "Oh, you are so woo woo," and I go, he says, no, he says, "You're such a hippie." I said, "I'm not a hippie. I'm woo." There's a level of acceptance in that, but what I find, especially people right now, if you're lonely right now, it's like I think part of what's happening is those of us who are awakening, we're spread across the planet.
Yeah.
We want to congregate, but our work is really to be the impact wherever we're standing, to be the light, to be the stand for a new humanity, wherever it is we're standing. And then when we find that bigger picture, it's like our light reaches up and we touch all the points. You know, you and I are touching across the states here, but there's people who are probably watching who are in all different parts of the world. And so we're like blending the world with our light by not being all in one place. So I find that sort of helps. It doesn't help in the moment of like, oh my God, I'm so lonely, I can't stand it, you know, but it also does. But
And
more people are awakening.
it takes a little bit of bravery and courage to come out. I mean, I know it was hard for me. I hid my psychicness, my abilities, you know, trying to fit in. I mean, all the way up till just a few years ago. So, but you didn't. You came right out. So good for you.
Well, and there was still a process. You know, there was a process. And in fact, you know, when I became a unity minister and I was ordained in 2000, that was a huge coming out. And yet, in 2010, what I discovered 10 years later is that I was totally hiding behind the mantle of being a minister of that church I was in.
Yeah.
The truth of me had been hidden again because it was, you know, and that happens. I mean, I feel like there's another level of coming out right now in January of 2020. There's a whole nother evolution of my becoming us that is new. And so it takes some bravery, but yes, and it just takes just being so true to yourself.
So tell us a little bit more. I got to do this for my friend Eric. Tell us a little bit more about the dragon aspect of the book. What was that dragon really representing?
Well, the dragon, when Shira faced the dragon, she knew she was on a journey. So you said earlier, it's kind of written in 2 points. So it's sort of written, it's definitely written in 2 ways. So one is what we would call her shamanic journeys or her experiences beyond the physical. And that part is actually in italics in the book. So it's very clear. And then the other is like day-to-day life. So when she met the dragon, she knew she was in a journey. And she found herself in a completely unfamiliar terrain, if you will. And what she noticed was that she was completely frozen. And so in her process, I won't tell the whole story there, but in her process, as she was realizing she was frozen, the dragon started to appear to her. Now she'd had enough processes and journeys to know that there's something happening in the physical dragon coming towards her and the inner dragon within her. And she discovered that she was frozen in terror. The terror she was experiencing was freezing. It felt like her blood was frozen. Her body was frozen. Her mind was frozen. And so as she walked through the process of, okay, I'm frozen, I'm absolutely in terror, she was able also to make another choice, which then was able to turn. You know, it took her some time in her journey and some processing through that, but she was able to overcome her terror in such a way when the dragon is breathing that smoke on her and the fumey, ugly, nasty breath on her and spitting on her, you know, so close. It's like, I still stand here. I still stand here. And she goes, what's your purpose? Why are you here?
Come back down.
Yeah, scare the living daylights out of you. And she's like, it worked, and I'm not backing down.
So sweet. So you're doing meditations on the 1 Million Meditators Facebook page now, right?
I am doing that.
Shero meditations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm doing them on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Mountains, about an hour and a half from this particular moment. It's on the 1 Million Meditators page, and I'm calling them Shero's Meditations, Shero's Quantum Meditations. And what I'm doing in that is just leading people through a pretty short process, a pretty short meditation to touch that place that we call otherworldly, or to touch the quantum, or to come into the truth. And in that we dissipate from our humanity. You know, we like leave our physicality and become quantum. And there's always a theme, and they're really, really fun. And they'll be ongoing, except for the month of February when I'm doing some global travel. So check them out. They're also on my page, and they're on my YouTube channel, and they're fairly easy to find.
That's great. So do you feel like meditation is like sustenance to you? Or is that like, because it seems like it was discussed somewhat like that in the book. So how do you meditate daily yourself, or?
I do. I've had a daily meditation practice that has taken a number of different forms over the years, but I started meditating 35 years ago, actually. And I remember because I was pregnant with my daughter, who will be 35 this year.
And so that's how you access the quantum field, or universal divineness, or one, I call it God. Sometimes it's easier.
Sometimes it's easier, but and to me, it's so much more than God, which is kind of a weird statement to make. But God has a connotation, so it's like dropping the constructs of what we think God is. So yeah, my meditation practice takes a variety of forms. Sometimes it's a specific meditation, and sometimes it's journaling, and sometimes it's movement, and sometimes it's just popping into the quantum. And so what I'm finding is, like, popping into the quantum, you can do that. We can do that in like 3 minutes, and it's the same experience as a 45-minute meditation if you really do it, if you really touch that place, because then it's like boom.
But don't you feel like you have to have like your vibration correct? Like you can't be in deep depression and then go meditate and boom, go to quantum, or can you?
It's hard to go from deep depression to quantum by yourself.
Okay.
It's possible in a facilitated manner. Now, from deep depression to quantum, it's likely not sustainable unless something changes deep within. But to touch it, and to touch it again, and to touch wholeness, and to touch happiness, and to touch contentment, sort of polar opposites of depression.
Right.
Yes, it's so much science now. It used to just be spiritual, but it gives the system enough of a break. Like, take a breath. Like when you're stressed or depressed, take a breath. Let's take a breath. Yeah. And it gives the system a moment to reset. It doesn't take very long. But once you can reset, then you can access. And so the practice really of meditation for me has changed so much over the 30 years. But if I can feel better in this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment, and I can keep my awareness on how I want to feel rather than how I do feel, then magic happens.
Yeah. Is that your energetic reset? Is that what you call that?
Yeah. It's just taking wherever we are, interrupting it, and making it new.
That's beautiful. Well, we got about a minute left. So how do people get a hold of you? Tell us, and maybe what do you do? What are you offering right now? I know the Burst Club. Do you have a Facebook group? Or?
I do. The one that's active right now is called Shira's Journey.
Oh, okay, I got to join that.
Yeah, well, you need to. We'll tag that somewhere in one of the comments too.
Okay.
So the Quantum Burst Club is the sort of the program that's happening. And you can reach me by Facebook, you can message me, and anywhere that I'm tagged in here, or just click on my name and come follow me on Facebook. And once you follow me, you can find access to, or maybe I need to repost it to the group. My website, which you mentioned earlier, is divine-awakening.org.
Yeah, it was easy to find you on social media when I went to add you. I just put your name in. I was like, oh, there's you. Like a lot of people like me, I have to change my name because Julia Rogers is so common. So, but Hummingbird Jewel is not.
Hummingbird Jewel is not, that's right.
Easy to find. I could find you everywhere. So,
yeah,
okay, well, everybody, you got to buy this book. It's brand new. It's beautiful. It just will touch your heart and soul. And because it is a little, it's a story. So it's not, just reading doctrine, but you will get touched spiritually by it. And you'll experience some of what she's gone through in her life. At least I saw that in there. Oh, thank you so much for blessing me with your presence. It's been wonderful. And everybody, thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thank you, Julia.
Bye, Aliza.
Bye.